what's the most interesting division in the NFL going into this draft? And then maybe going into the season. Because if some team makes a move in the draft out of a different division than one that we're going to be talking about right now, that does change the tenor of the conversation. But right here and right now, to me, it is still the NFC West. And I know it's the West Coast, and everybody, rolls their eyes about the West Coast, and everybody rolled their eyes about the West Coast when it came to March Madness and the Final Four and how, it's an East Coast bias world in which we live in sports, with the exception of college football. Then it's a Southeast bias.
Absolutely.
That's your bias in college football. It's more Northeast and East Coast when it comes to just sports in this country. But when you've got a team that was 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, essentially telling their quarterback that he's officially on the clock, he's got one more year left. And if there's an offer of somebody knocking on the door of someone who's desperate for a quarterback, that doesn't appear to be right now. Chicago's not going to do it. New England's not going to do it. I mean, who is so quarterback needy that they're going to blow the Niners away to say, cough up the cushion of you being able to start Jimmy Garoppolo to give a year for your newly drafted quarterback? Who's going to be, you could be our Alex Smith the year that the Kansas City drafted Mahomes. That's the sort of thing. I don't see it. And the Niners could still win the Super Bowl with Jimmy G this year while this kid sits there and watches. Matthew Stafford's here in Los Angeles, California. I think that might turn out to be the best offseason acquisition. It was the first. It might wind up being the best. We'll see how that plays out. Seattle, we all feel, has one more year left, maybe, with Russell Wilson. All good now, but maybe this is one last shot across the bow. Russell's swan song in Seattle. We will be looking at every single time this guy gets sacked. Is it his fault? Is it the fault of the scheme? Is it the fault that the team didn't draft or do anything to protect him? Oh, my gosh, they pizzade Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, the running game, new offensive coordinator, Pete Carroll, chomping gum like he's 12 years old. Bobby Wagner, closing window of opportunity, slobber knocker games between those three teams, and then throw in Arizona, which just adds J.J. Watt to the mix. They just keep adding players to this mix. Love the division. And I understand, I want to give voice to our major domo in the back, diehard Saint fan Don Bowie of this program. He thinks it's the NFC South because you've got Tom Brady at age 44 trying to run it back with the first team since, I believe, the 70s Steelers, the 78 Steelers, to return all 22 starters from the previous year's championship team. We haven't seen that in a long time, and certainly it's a relic with the salary cap era. They're bringing everyone back, including Tom Brady. Drew Brees is gone. First time since his arrival that they have somebody who is installed as the number one starter in this team. It's going to be Jameis Winston, it looks like, as he's moving around in the swimming pool in viral fashion, getting ready for the season.
Eating W's.
Swimming W's now. We'll show that later on. Carolina's now got Sam Darnold, and, of course, Atlanta's now going to be potentially on the clock, fourth overall, making the moves, but I don't think anything compares to the NFC West. The NFC North clearly has a new regime in Detroit, but a lot of people need to have it shown to them first before they start caring. The Bears are just a fascinating team because of the Bears' decision-making and the big YOLO swing for the Russell Wilson fence that they missed. Aaron Rodgers hosting Jeopardy and maybe winning a championship at the same time. And then there's the Vikings. I mean, the money division in the NFC East. The AFC East seems to be getting more and more interesting.
I think so.
AFC West. There might be some table pounders for the AFC North since, they did send 3 teams to the playoffs last year. And Joe Burrow's coming back. AFC South.
Joe Burrow.
We have to say the AFC South is brought to you by the phrase, with all due respect. But that's where I'm going right now. And the 49ers lead that charge, man. because they lead the draft charge. They lead the Jimmy G charge. They can win the Super Bowl charge. Kyle Shanahan there's a new for San Francisco, like in Kyle we trust, sort of like in New England within Bill we trust. And, there's a lot on the line, man. I love the NFC West. It's annually my favorite division. It might be biased because I live out here now, but it is the 49ers draft world in which we're living. And we could be watching them win the Super Bowl this year, too. With everybody who comes back healthy, they could run it back. Last year was just a wild year from COVID to the injuries
yeah.
to name it. It happened to San Francisco last year. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.